Kitco Mining special coverage of the Mining Investment Event of the North is brought to you by EMX Royalty Corp.
In this market, it's good to have exposure to both gold and copper. EMX Royalty has both thanks to assets with Lundin Mining's Caserones and Zijin Mining's Timok. David Cole is CEO. David, welcome back to Kitco.
Michael, always a pleasure to talk to you.
Tell us about the updates over the past 12 months. What have been some of the highlight transactions, David?
Well, probably the most significant highlight is the fact that we're breaking records on the revenue side. Last year we had $37 million US coming in the door, and that's great. I've said for years that we're going to become a cash cow. We have actually done that, and it's great to see the assets populating and moving up towards the top of the pyramid and establishing that recurring cash flow.
Let's step back and then talk about the streaming and royalty business. What is it and what are some of the advantages?
Royalties are phenomenal financial instruments, in all honesty, and streams are very similar, and it's because of their embedded optionality. We all want to be exposed to commodity price optionality, but the biggest driver of that optionality upside is exploration and discovery optionality. So if you own a royalty on a deposit, it's getting near the end of its life, and they find a whole nother deposit of equal size or greater, you're in the money, and that happens repeatedly throughout the world. And of course, it can go the other way as well. But over the long haul, mines tend to get bigger over time, and particularly large mines tend to become even larger. And it's great to be exposed to that optionality. Another aspect of it, while we're on the topic, is engineering optionality and metallurgical optionality. As metallurgists figure out how to get more gold out of the rock and engineers figure out how to mine deeper, that's all to the benefit of the royalty holder. Royalty holder didn't pay for that research work, didn't pay for the capital expenditure to add the infrastructure. All comes as a free benefit to the royalty holder.
Now, David, you get some protection from inflation with the streaming and royalty business, because that's been a bit of a problem right now in the mining sector.
This is the Achilles heel of the mining business. Everyone thought that, I want to own gold miners because the price of gold is going to go up. What they failed to realize is to the extent that the cost went up along with that. And the benefiter in the long term, actually, it turned out to be the royalty companies, because the margins have stayed fairly close to the same throughout history. I recall when I was young working at Newmont Mining Corporation, we were making gold at $200 an ounce and selling at $400. And we thought that was great. And nowadays the margin's not even 50%. So, it definitely is to the advantage of the royalty holder to have that commodity price upside, which is also known as inflation.
Now, David, you've been doing this for a while. This is your vacation. You've been looking at projects your entire career.
I sure have. And I got to say, it's my passion. I love doing this. And I love value creation at the early stage. That's why I love royalty generation, going out and acquiring projects, selling them, keeping royalties, and augmenting that with royalty purchases. And after 18 and a half years with Newmont, I left to found EMX Royalty Corporation and pursue my passion. And having a lot of fun doing that.
Now, EMX Royalty, metal agnostic.
We love all the metals. We have most of our top line revenue comes from gold and copper at this point in time. And a lot of the future of the company is tied to our very long-lived copper assets.
In your presentation, you put down operations in Zijin Mining and Lundin Mining as being flagship assets. Who are these companies and why are they flagships?
Yeah, generational assets, absolutely. I feel very fortunate to have exposure to both of those. Let's talk about Timok first. Largest copper and gold deposit ever found in the history of Europe, put into production in 2019 by a very capable operator, Zijin. They have a history of getting metal out of the ground. They have a history of meeting their budgets and exceeding them, actually, and which is quite rare in the mining business. I'm delighted to have that. The size of the resource at depth for the big porphyry system there is immense. It's published on their website. It exceeds 2.5 billion tons at 0.76% copper with a gold credit. And it's a phenomenal system. We see a lot of upside in that as well, and a key asset to be exposed to. The other one that you mentioned also is appropriate, is operated by Lundin Mining Corporation in Chile, and that is the Caserones system. The mineralization there is completely open-ended at depth, and Lundin has announced a plus $14 million exploration program pursuing sulfide mineralization at depth within that system. And they also identified the Angelica project, which is immediately adjacent to Caserones, where they're into a whole new porphyry.
And the Lundin Mining Group, of course, just a legendary name within mining.
Great operators. Yep.
You also have 9 project options or sold in Scandinavia. That's another region that seems to be coming to the fore in most recent years.
We think that the geology of Finland, Norway, and Sweden is excellent, highly conducive for a variety of mineral deposit types, including sulfide nickel systems, volcanogenic massive sulfide systems, orogenic gold systems, just to name a few. And we've been acquiring mineral rights there copiously for many years now, and are the largest single mineral right holder in Fennoscandia, in fact. We execute the generative business model where we're selling those off in exchange for cash and shares and annualized work commitments, in addition to a production royalty. Our next producing royalty will come from that region of the world, the Viscaria mine, which is the copper and gold portion of the very large iron oxide copper gold system at Kiruna in northern Sweden. Long-term, centuries-old mining district, and we're delighted to have exposure to that.
It's June 2024. David, just a macro question for you. How do the metals look right now? How does both copper and gold look going for the rest of the year?
It's hard not to be a long-term copper bull. I believe the copper price might be ahead of itself a little bit right now as the squeeze that occurred over the course of the last month seems to have played out. The economies around the world might be slowing a little bit, and of course copper price is a barometer of the economic activity. So we might see some short-term pullback in copper price, but long-term it's hard not to be a copper bull. The continued compounded annual growth rate of copper demand is strong, and there's a finite amount of copper on the planet.
You've been looking at projects for a long time. Copper is also a supply story as well, correct?
Yes, and the only way that the miners have been able to meet the demands of increased copper demand across the globe throughout history is through the continued reduction in the copper cutoff grade worldwide. That graph just continues to inch its way down thanks to economies of scale and better engineering practices as well as discoveries. And that way that the globe has still been able to have enough copper to do all the things that we do with copper, including electrification of transportation as one of the key topics that people discuss.
Lastly, David, milestones over the next 12 months at EMX.
Continued strong cash flow coming from our performing royalties, as well as more generative deal flow.
David, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Michael McRae at the Mining Investment Event of the North for Kitco Mining.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Mining Investment Event of the North is brought to you by EMX Royalty Corp.